Let me tell you something that'll change your life. Being unbothered is not about pretending things don't hurt you. It's about training yourself to control your reaction. So the things that used to derail you now roll off your back like water. I'm serious. You don't need to argue. You don't need to defend. You don't need to shrink or explain. You need to train like an athlete trains for a championship. You train your mindset. You train your focus. You train your peace. Because the moment you master being unbothered is the moment you take your power back. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today. Let's go. Every day you are faced with moments that test you. Interruptions, criticism, jealousy, bad news, rude comments, delays, setbacks. And in those moments you have a choice. You can either let them control your energy, or you can take a breath, pull back, and recognize the truth. Your reaction is your responsibility. That is not just a powerful thought. It's a life-altering shift. When you start to live from a place where you fully accept that your emotions, your words, your choices, and your energy are within your control, that's when everything begins to change. You don't wait for people to behave right. You don't need life to be fair. You don't need someone to understand you because your peace no longer depends on what happens out there. It's coming from within you. Think about the last time something or someone completely threw off your day. Maybe it was someone cutting you off in traffic, or your boss criticizing something you worked hard on, or your partner saying something that hit a nerve. That wave of emotion you felt, anger, frustration, disappointment, it was real. But what you did next is what either empowered or weakened you. That pause, that moment between stimulus and response is where all your strength lies. And if you don't train yourself to recognize that space, you'll give away your power over and over and over again. The truth is, signs you're losing yourself. We've been trained by life, by habit, by reaction. We've been trained to respond immediately, to react fast, emotionally, impulsively. Someone says something rude, we clap back. Someone criticizes us, we spiral in self-doubt. Someone disrespects us, we start thinking about revenge or obsessing over what they meant. That's reactive living. That's living at the mercy of everything around you, and it's exhausting. What I'm asking you to do is retrain that response system. Build a new pattern, one where instead of getting hijacked by emotion, you slow down, you recognize the trigger, and then you choose. You choose how you want to feel. You choose whether this situation is worth your energy. You choose to be the one who stays grounded. You can't wait for the world to stop being messy. You have to learn to stay clean in the middle of the mess. And the only way to do that is by practicing emotional discipline like your peace depends on it. Because it does. And let me be clear, this is not about being emotionless. This is not about suppressing how you feel. This is about power. This is about recognizing that you don't owe anyone immediate access to your feelings or your energy. You don't have to take everything personally. You don't have to explain yourself every time someone misunderstands you. You are allowed to feel it and still not react to it. One of the most powerful things you can say to yourself in a triggering moment is, I don't have to respond to this. Just because someone invites you into drama doesn't mean you have to attend the party. Just because someone tries to get under your skin doesn't mean you have to make room for them. You train yourself to be unbothered by choosing stillness over noise, choosing clarity over chaos, choosing power over pettiness. It's a mindset that says, I know who I am, and I'm not going to let this moment define me. This kind of discipline starts with self-awareness. You got to know your patterns. What triggers you? Who pushes your buttons? What kind of situations throw you off balance? Get to know that landscape, because once you know what rattles you, you can begin to build a plan. You can start rewiring your instinctive response into something grounded, clear, and intentional. That's what training looks like. It's not glamorous. It happens in the little moments when you get that email that annoys you and you pause before you type a response. When someone criticizes you and you take a breath instead of defending yourself. When you feel that rise of anger and instead of lashing out, you check in with yourself. You start catching yourself in the act mid-reaction and you say, not today. I've worked too hard on my peace. And the more you do that, the more you reinforce a new emotional habit. A habit of calm, a habit of poise, a habit of strength. You're not pretending things don't matter. You're just choosing what's worthy of your energy. You're not denying your feelings. You're learning to hold them without letting them spill all over your life. There's a deep sense of power that comes from knowing you're in charge of how you show up. It shifts the focus from trying to control others to leading yourself. And let me tell you, most people are reacting all day long. They're giving away their emotional energy like candy. Someone what self-worth really means says something, they blow up. Something goes wrong, they spiral. They're exhausted, drained, and bitter. And they don't even realize it's 'cause they never took back the steering wheel of their reaction. Training yourself to be unbothered means you're no longer outsourcing your peace. You stop waiting for the apology. You stop needing validation. You stop expecting the world to behave. Instead, you build a mindset that's solid. A mindset that doesn't fall apart just because someone else is messy. That's strength. And yes, it's a practice. Some days you'll nail it, other days you'll slip. But the more you practice, the faster you recover. You become less reactive and more responsive, less explosive and more composed, less frantic and more focused. Let's talk about the moments that test this mindset the most. Betrayal, rejection, disrespect. Those cut deep. And in those moments, your emotions are loud, raw, and real. But here's the test. Will you react from pain or respond from power? Will you let the betrayal drag you into bitterness? Or will you rise above it and focus on your healing? Will you let the rejection define your worth? Or will you remind yourself that someone else's opinion is not your truth? Will you meet disrespect with more disrespect? Or will you protect your energy like it's sacred? Every time you choose to protect your peace, you're not being passive, you're being powerful. Every time you walk away from a fight that isn't worth it, you're not being weak, you're being wise. You're teaching the world how to treat you, not by reacting to everything, but by staying grounded in who you are. And over time, that groundedness becomes your superpower. People will notice, they'll feel it. You become the person who doesn't get rattled, the one who can handle chaos without becoming chaotic, the one who can stay clear-headed even in the middle of emotional storms. That's leadership, that's self-respect, that's what being unbothered really means. It's not cold, it's not detached, it's deeply intentional. It's peaceful and it's powerful. One of the best exercises you can do to build this muscle is practicing the pause. When something triggers you, pause, count to 5, breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this? That one question can shift everything because now you're not reacting blindly. You're responding with purpose. You're thinking about the bigger picture. And from that place, your choices become more aligned, more mature, more powerful. You've got to understand that training yourself to be unbothered doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care more effectively. You care enough about your peace to not get pulled into things that don't serve you. You care enough about your energy to not waste it on things that steal your focus. You care enough about your future to not let every little offense dictate your direction. How to set boundaries, that's high-level thinking. That's next-level maturity. And yes, sometimes you'll want to react. Sometimes it'll feel good to say what's on your mind, to let someone have it, to prove your point. But the high of reaction is short-lived. The cost of peace is not worth that little hit of satisfaction. Think long-term. Think about your goals, your growth, your emotional stability. Think about how good it feels to walk away knowing you didn't lose yourself just because someone else couldn't handle you. You are not here to fight every battle. You are not here to correct every misunderstanding. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to live with purpose, to move with peace, to stay grounded no matter what. And that requires discipline. It requires mindfulness. It requires knowing yourself so deeply that nothing external can shake the foundation you've built. Anytime you resist the urge to react, you win. Every time you protect your space, you grow. Every time you choose peace over petty, you step into a new version of yourself. And let me tell you, that version, she's powerful. He's unstoppable. They're unshakable because they've trained for this. They've worked for this. They've chosen this. And they are no longer available for chaos, drama, or emotional sabotage. This is your reminder that your peace is your job, your reaction is your responsibility, and your power lies in your ability to remain unbothered, focused, and grounded no matter what life throws your way. Detachment often gets misunderstood. People hear the word and think it means not caring, being cold, or walking through life with walls up. But that's not detachment. Detachment is not about caring less. It's about seeing things clearly. It's not about being numb. It's about being free. It's about creating enough space between you and the chaos around you so you can choose your response instead of reacting out of habit. It's clarity in motion. When you practice detachment, you don't lose your passion, your compassion, or your humanity. You lose the grip that other people, situations, or emotions have over you. You stop being pulled into every storm and instead become the calm center in the middle of it all. There's a certain kind of clarity that only comes when you stop tying your peace to outcomes, when you stop needing everything to go your way in order to feel okay, when you stop needing people to approve of you, understand you, or agree with you in order to move forward. That's what detachment really is. It's the decision to anchor your stability in something deeper than the surface of your circumstances. It's the conscious act of separating your state of being from the external events you can't control. Because let's be honest, life doesn't always go according to plan. People disappoint, expectations fall short, doors close. And if you're constantly attaching your peace to those outcomes, you'll be on an emotional roller coaster every day. Attachment gives you the space to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. It allows you to observe without getting overwhelmed, to listen without taking everything personally, to love without clinging, to lead without controlling. It's not about removing emotion. It's about regulating it. It's about saying, I can feel this fully and still not let it consume me. That's a skill. That's a muscle. And it's something you train every day by how you handle disappointment, disagreement, and discomfort. When someone criticizes you, detachment is the space that lets you ask, is this feedback useful or not? Without silence isn't rejection spiraling into self-doubt. When a relationship ends, detachment allows you to grieve the loss while still trusting your life is moving in the right direction. When plans fall through, detachment is the ability to say, this hurts, but I'm okay. And not just say it, but mean it. Because your OKS isn't dependent on that one thing working out. You've built a deeper well of strength, one that isn't shaken so easily. Clarity in motion means you don't rush to react. You don't over-explain. You don't take every delay or rejection as a sign that something is wrong with you. You understand that life is full of ebbs and flows, that people are complex, that timing matters, and that sometimes the only thing you control is how gracefully you respond. That's the foundation of inner power. When you're detached in the healthy, grounded way, you become less frantic. You're no longer trying to force every conversation, fix every misunderstanding, or micromanage every detail of your path. You allow, you observe, you adapt. And in that space, so much wisdom flows in. Detachment isn't about indifference. It's about alignment. It's being so aligned with your purpose and your peace that you don't feel the need to chase or cling. You trust that what is meant for you will come and what is not meant will fall away, and both are okay. You stop arguing with reality and start flowing with it. You stop needing everything to feel perfect and start learning from what is. And that's a shift most people don't even realize they need to make, because we've been taught that control equals safety. That if we can just plan hard enough, work hard enough, love hard enough, we can make things go our way. But sometimes the path to peace is not in holding tighter. It's in loosening your grip. It's in breathing through the discomfort and choosing trust over tension. When you live with this kind of detachment, you stop giving your power away to every opinion, every outcome, every bump in the road. You stop seeking validation in places that were never meant to define your worth. You start trusting your own voice more. You start listening to your inner compass instead of external noise. That's clarity. That's freedom. That's power. And you can feel it when you're around someone who has it. They move differently. They're not rattled by every shift in the wind. They don't explain their peace. They embody it. Let's take it a step deeper. Detachment also helps you let go of the need to be right. And that's a tough one for a lot of us, because being right feels good. It feels like control. But often the need to be right keeps us stuck. Stuck in arguments, stuck in patterns, stuck in our own ego. When you're truly detached, you don't need to win every battle. You don't need to prove your point to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You can let it go. Not out of weakness, but out of strength, because you know what really matters. And your peace, your progress, your purpose, they matter more than being right in a moment. You also daily habits to build confidence. Begin to notice how much time and energy you were wasting on things that didn't even matter. You start seeing where you were overthinking, overextending, overcommitting, and you pull that energy back. You bring it home. You start giving it to your growth, your healing, your vision. That's detachment. That's reclaiming your power. You're not trying to do everything. You're not trying to be everything for everyone. You're focused. You're intentional. And you're unbothered by the things that used to steal your energy. This shift changes your relationships too. When you detach, you stop needing people to fill your gaps. You start approaching connections from a place of wholeness, not lack. You're not trying to control how someone shows up. You're simply observing how they do and choosing whether or not that aligns with the life you're building. That's not cold. That's clarity. That's love with boundaries. That's connection without codependency. That's what it means to love in a healthy, mature, grounded way. Detachment also changes how you pursue goals. You go from grasping tightly to flowing confidently. You stop tying your identity to results and start finding joy in the process. You do your best. You stay aligned and you trust the timing. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to not lose yourself in the hustle. You're not chasing outcomes. You're living in purpose. You're not obsessed with speed. You're grounded in direction. And that mindset, that's what helps you stay consistent, because you're not derailed by every dip, every delay, every detour. You're not emotional about the path. You're committed to the journey. Clarity in motion also means you're able to notice when your attachment to an outcome is actually holding you back. Sometimes we cling so tightly to what we want that we miss what we need. We hold on to expired relationships. We chase dead-end opportunities. We obsess over closed doors thinking they define us. But detachment allows you to loosen your grip and see the bigger picture. To recognize when it's time to release and realign. To trust that letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of something better. There is a quiet confidence that comes with detachment, a calm presence, a knowing that you don't have to chase what's aligned for you. You attract it by becoming it, by doing the inner work, by showing up as your best self consistently, unapologetically. And when you do that, you stop reacting to everything. You start responding from your center. You stop proving and start embodying. That's power, that's presence. One of the most powerful practices you can build into your life is the daily habit of checking in with yourself. Asking, what am I holding on to that I need to release? Where am I trying to control something that's not mine to control? What am I afraid will happen if I just let this be? Those questions' final message focus on you, bring awareness. And with awareness comes choice. You begin to see where your attachments are costing you your clarity, where your clinging is costing you your energy, and you start to shift gently, consistently, intent. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with one situation, one area of life where you feel stuck, anxious, or overwhelmed. Look at your attachment. Look at your expectations. Look at your desire to control. And then practice loosening your grip. Just a little, just enough to breathe, just enough to choose a different response. That's how detachment works. It's not all or nothing. It's practice, it's repetition, it's choosing space over stress, flow over force, power over panic. And it's not always easy. Sometimes detachment feels like loss, like silence, like emptiness. Because you're so used to noise, chaos, intensity. You're so used to clinging and chasing. But in that silence, in that stillness, something new emerges: clarity, strength, truth. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to remember who you are without the noise of expectation, obligation, or distraction. That's the gift of detachment. It brings you back to yourself. And when you live from that space, you move through life with a different kind of grace. You don't resist what is. You meet it with wisdom. You don't force what's not working. You realign. You don't react from fear. You respond from faith. You become clear. You become powerful. You become unshakable. And not because everything around you is perfect, but because you are anchored, focused, and the world doesn't need more people who are constantly rattled, reactive, and burned out from clinging too tightly to what they can't control. The world needs more people who are steady, who are clear, who know how to hold space for what's real without losing their peace in the process, who know how to move forward without needing to force things. That's you. That could be you. But it takes practice. It takes trust. It takes the courage to say, I'm going to loosen my grip so I can live with more clarity, more power, more peace. So every day remind yourself detachment is not disconnection. It's redirection. It's self-respect. It's knowing that your peace matters more than your need to prove, to control, to chase. And when you live from that place, you'll be amazed at how much lighter, clearer, and more powerful life becomes. What you ignore defines your strength more than what you confront. That might sound backwards to everything you've ever been taught, but it's the truth. We live in a world that tells us we always have to speak up, defend ourselves, react, prove a point, that silence means weakness, that letting something slide means you're avoiding the issue or letting someone win. But here's the reality. True strength is not always loud, is not always a fight. Sometimes the greatest power lies in knowing exactly what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And most of the time, what doesn't is a long list. Your strength is in your ability to ignore distractions, ignore noise, ignore disrespect, ignore negativity, ignore things that try to pull you out of character. That kind of control is rare. That kind of focus is elite. And every single day you are presented with a choice. You can either give your attention to things that drain you or things that grow you. And what you choose to ignore says everything about your mindset, your maturity, and your mission. When someone posts something petty about you, do you respond or do you move on? When someone throws shade, makes a sly remark, challenges your authority, questions your choices, do you get triggered or do you remind yourself that not every comment needs a comeback? When you see negativity in your space, online or offline, do you feed it with your energy or starve it with your silence? These moments define you. Ignoring something doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've evolved past the need to engage with everything. You've realized that not everything deserves an audience. Not every insult requires an explanation. Not every rumor demands your reaction. You've got better things to do. You've got a mission. You've got a focus. You've got peace that's worth protecting. And the more you grow, the more you'll notice how much your silence speaks louder than your words. Because people will try to trigger you. They'll want to get a rise out of you. They'll test you just to see if they can steal your peace. But when you stop reacting, you stop giving them control. This doesn't mean you become passive. This means you become selective, and being selective is strength. It means you know the value of your energy. You know the power of your focus. You know that every time you pour your attention into something, you're either investing in your growth or wasting your fuel. And let's be real, we've all wasted fuel. We've all given energy to the wrong things, arguments that went nowhere, people who weren't worth the explanation, situations that only existed to test our patience. But once you recognize the pattern, you have a responsibility to shift it. You can't keep saying yes to chaos and expect peace. You can't keep giving away your attention and expect clarity. There's a reason the most powerful people in the room are usually the quietest. They're not reacting, they're observing, they're thinking, they're focused on the long game because every reaction costs something. Your time, your energy, your reputation, your momentum. And when you're constantly reacting, you're not building, you're not creating, you're not leading. You're just chasing fires. And most of them weren't even worth the match. Real strength is in restraint, in discipline, in knowing when to speak and when to walk away, in choosing your battles and understanding that not everything is won. One of the most empowering things you can learn to say is, I'm not going to let that disturb my peace. Say it when someone tries to bait you. Say it when the criticism hits. Say it when the frustration builds. Because you know who you are, and when you know who you are, you don't need to respond to every attack. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You are not required to show up to every emotional battle. You can opt out. You can choose silence. You can move on. It's not about ignoring life's responsibilities. It's about ignoring the things that do not serve your future, the things that do not align with your values, the things that do not build your peace. And yes, sometimes that includes people. Not everyone is meant to go with you. Not everyone will understand your path, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to walk your truth, to live with integrity, to build a life that reflects your inner peace. And that means letting some things slide, letting some things go, not because they don't matter, but because they don't deserve to matter that much. When you're constantly engaging in petty conflict, you're lowering yourself. You're stepping down from your mission to argue with people who aren't even in the same arena as you. That's not strength. That's distraction. And when you learn to ignore what's beneath you, not in a condescending way, but in a focused way, you elevate, you rise. You protect the space you've worked so hard to build. You stay aligned with your higher self. That's what this is about. Alignment, discipline, mastery. It's not about never feeling bothered. It's about choosing to rise above being bothered by the same things over and over again. There's a trap many people fall into, thinking they have to confront everything in order to heal or to grow. But healing also happens in the quiet. Growth also happens in restraint. You don't need to respond to every negative comment to prove your strength. Sometimes your silence is the proof. Sometimes your peace is the proof. And when you start ignoring the noise, you start hearing yourself more clearly. You start connecting to your intuition. You start making decisions that aren't reactions. They're reflections of your vision. You don't need to be in defense mode all the time. You don't need to jump into every debate. You don't need to correct everyone's perception of you. Most of the people who misunderstand you are committed to misunderstanding you. They don't want the truth. They want the drama. And your job is to disappoint them with grace, with silence, with peace. That's the win. That's the flex. To not engage, to not explain, to not react. To be so confident in who you are that you no longer seek to control how others see you. And yes, that takes time. It takes practice. It takes a deep level of emotional intelligence. You'll slip up. You'll respond to things you shouldn't. You'll feel that urge to defend yourself. But with awareness comes growth. With intention comes strength. And every time you choose to ignore what's not aligned, you build that muscle. You reinforce your boundaries. You protect your progress. Ignoring is not avoidance. Ignoring is discernment. It's the wisdom to know when something is not worth your energy. It's the maturity to stay on your path even when distractions beg for your attention. It's the confidence to let go of the need to be seen, heard, validated, and instead focus on being aligned, clear, and at peace. That's the path of power. That's what being truly unbothered looks like. And once you begin practicing this consistently, you'll notice something powerful. Life gets lighter. You have more energy. You sleep better. You stop overthinking every little thing. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop checking your phone for responses that never came, because you're no longer reacting. You're responding with wisdom. You're leading yourself with purpose. You're creating a life that's led by intention, not interruption. And here's something else. You become magnetic. People start noticing your energy. They feel your calm. They respect your peace. You no longer give people access to you just because they demand it. You choose who gets your time, your words, your response. And in that choosing, you become powerful. Because the most powerful people in the world aren't the loudest. They're the most disciplined with their energy. They know what to engage with and what to let pass. They know when to speak and when to let silence speak for them. So if you want to train yourself to be unbothered, start by examining what you give your attention to. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Does this align with who I'm becoming? Will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And when the answer is no, walk away. Don't look back. Don't overthink. Don't rehearse what you could have said. Just trust that your silence was louder than any comeback, that your peace was more powerful than any argument, that your self-control was your real strength. Train yourself to ignore what drains you. Ignore what disrespects you. Ignore what distracts you from your goals. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's clarity. That's the kind of unshakable strength that doesn't need to be announced. It's felt. It's lived. It's chosen every single day. And it starts with you making the decision that not everything deserves a piece of your power. Not every person deserves a response. Not every challenge needs your attention. Your focus is your freedom. What you ignore, you rise above. And that's where true power begins.